Hello everyone, am I audible?
Yes.
Audible as well. Cool. Uh, so first of all, thank you, CNC Group, for giving me this opportunity. So Ashish reached out to me and he mentioned that we are looking for some people who has experience some downtime, some hate moments with different team members and all kinds of stuff. He wanted to share our experience with that. So I told him that why only share critical moment, right? Why not to share a moment in which I was feeling helpless for the very first time in my life. I was working on something very critical on production. And yeah, so this is one of the topics which I have chosen, right? Uh, so how undetected performance people can keep your apps in business. So this was a very big, you could say, incident which I have seen in my life. And this happened 4-5 years ago, and still I remember each and everything about this incident because this was the incident which made me feel that I'm helpless and I cannot do anything. So let's move ahead. So first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Ankit Arora. I'm currently working as a staff cloud platform engineer at Gemini, and I've also worked with some companies like Sita, Wigify, and Zobber. So I work with startups, unicorns as well. I was leading a team in Zeta, and Wigify was one of the great journey I had. And Zobber is also one of the things, which was, I would say, kind of. You can say it was too early for the market. They were into hyperlocal space now. And Gemini is more into crypto, so they are basically crypto-based fintech platform which deals with everything in US. When majorly they're in US. And I love music and games. You will get to know about that. So this is my Twitter handle. This is my India. DevOps side. You might be thinking, what is that? I share my experiences. I write blogs, and I share those blogs on that platform. So you can check that platform. So I shared a story, right? So this will be more like a story so that you can relate to it. One morning I was getting ready for office in the morning, and I got a call, and my manager and my teammate was on the call, and they shared that something is wrong with one of the database. And the other guy was traveling; he was in metro, so he was not able to attend this. And I was like, okay, fine, that's fine, I'll take it. Being a junior, right? Being a junior in the team, you try to get each and every opportunity, each and every issue, so that you can work on it, learn from it, and try to get more experience from that. So this was one of the things. What happened was, I got a call and we got to know that one of the DB, Postgres DB, one question, right? How many of you are using databases, and how many of you have good command over databases? Do you have experience with DBA kind of stuff? Just administration will also work, not in terms of stuff I'm asking about. Cool. Okay, so you will be able to get more, but I try to keep it very simple so that everybody will be able to understand. So this is the stack we had. We had Postgres, we had Postgres in one secretary. This was the size of the DB, 3 TBs. It's not that big size, but I'll come to that why I'm saying this is the big size for what we were trying to do over there. Apart from this, we had number of DBs on that instance was 4. This was one of the big mistakes we did. That was something which was not we were aware about. Downtime 6 hours, and those 6 hours were 6 hours of my life. I come to that why. Data loss, I come to that how much data loss we experience, and impact was basically only 5%. The reason is that it was basically kind of a service which was for basically customer support. So one more thing, right? When being a junior, right, when you see, right, something is coming to you so that you can learn from it. This is what my experience was. Okay, I was like my expert background now because I was good with databases and I had good enough experience with that. And so this is what I decided to do. This is the meme I can relate to. That's why I decided to do it over. Okay. So yeah, so now I knew what I had to do because I knew my databases were running in read-only mode. Just a normal DevOps guy, right? You know what you have to do. So the first thing was for me basically to make things up as soon as possible. So all the weapons which I had, right? I tried everything. So I tried stopping and starting the DB again. Okay, I also tried to promote secondary to primary. I did that, but after doing that, I realized that it is still again in the same situation. It is still in the read-only mode. I come to that why that happened. Another thing is that stop the application. I stopped the application so that the load will decrease over there on the primary side. And I tried tuning into tweaking the database parameters and configs so that I tried restarting them so that maybe it will work. Right? So after that, I tried upgrading machine. And the last thing I did was try auto-vacuuming just by getting a random start mode command over there, and I tried doing that. So I tried everything, every weapon in my bag, right? But nothing worked. And this was the next thing I was. This is my condition actually. I tried each and everything. It was a kind of a situation for me. I tried everything and I was not able to understand anything over there. I tried logs, whatever I could do, I tried everything. So this is one of the issues which I basically faced. Okay, and I tell you why I was not able to do anything, why I was not able to make things work, I was not able to make server up and application up. So this is one of the errors which I was seeing in the logs. This is one of the warning I was seeing. Now come to that, what basically is transaction wraparound issue, why my database went into that state. Okay. So first of all, I'll basically tell you that what transaction IDs. Any idea what transaction IDs in Postgres? Anybody knows about that? Yeah.
So based on the MVCC model, it creates new rows, new versions of rows, and each version of row is created.
So based on the MVCC model that databases follow, this relational databases follow, each row is created as a new version. Whenever you update it, or maybe you want to insert it, then a new version of a row is inserted. And each transaction that is creating that row and marking that old row as basically tombstone, then that transaction ID is updated with the row version with it, and it has a specific number associated with it, so as to identify that which was the newer version and which was the older version, because it is incremental in nature. So that's what you're talking.
Yeah. So yeah, he explained very much in depth that based on the architecture, MVCC architecture. I'm not going to go into that because we have a limited time, and you guys also get confused with that. So simple term, transaction ID is basically a kind of a unique ID to every transaction. Whatever happens over there in the database, right? That's a unique ID to them. And why it needs that to maintain the database consistency and isolation. Okay. Again, basic fundamentals of databases putting on SQL using ACID properties and all. So now the thing is that why this wraparound issue happened. Now we know what transaction ID is, right? Now why I went into that state. The reason is that because my transaction cost 2 billion transactions over. There is a quota, right, of this transaction, and I occupied all of that 100% of that quota, and it cost 2 billion transactions. And why it decided to go down? That server went down because it thought that something is wrong with the database. Something is wrong over there on the database side, and to maintain the consistency and to protect the data, it tried to stop itself. So it went into stop state. So that is how this transaction wraparound issue works. So now there were two things we were seeing over there. The database, in case I want to run the database, I have to run it in recovery mode, and it was running in read-only mode only. Okay. Now I'll come to the next slide. So what are the reasons behind these transaction wraparound issue, right? So this happens because of the first reason, right? This is auto vacuuming is not working. I come to that, what auto vacuuming is, or it is running slow, it is not running enough, right? Then some long-lived transactions are happening over there. Database logical dumps are running over there. In case of logical replication, this also happens, right? Many connections are creating log. This can also happen due to heavy reads on the tables. You are basically, maybe some application is doing that. In our scenario, it was the LLM models, basically the AI LLM models were doing that. Another thing is basically this normal, like you mentioned, right? There are intensive DML operations like update, delete, and all that stuff. So now I'll basically come to this. What auto is, right? So in our case, what was the major culprit? Was auto vacuuming not running enough. So let's just this first discuss what auto vacuuming is. So I'll explain what happens in a normal database, Postgres database. Have you ever thought that in case you write something on the database, it takes more time, but when you delete something or you update something, it takes lesser time? Why is that? The reason is that when you write something on a database, it creates a new row over there. But in case you update or delete something, right, your database marks that particular row as deleted. It deletes the index of that so that nobody will be able to read it. But it creates a new in case of update, it creates a new row and then it basically marks it as deleted. So this deleted data is still lying over there. Right? Now what will happen? In case that is deleted data is lying over there, then it will keep on increasing. It will keep on increasing the size. So vacuuming is a kind of a process which finds the data, removes this data, reclaims the whole space and give it to database so that it can utilize it. So this is a vacuuming, and what automated way is called auto vacuum. Clear? Any doubt in this? Now, so in our case, right, like I mentioned, our auto vacuum was not working and it was not getting updated. This is one of the major reasons. I'll tell you why that was not happening. So we had a database. We had 4 databases over there, and one database was having 1.7 TB size. And in that 1.7 TB size, the size of one table itself was 1.2 TB. One table, and we had more than 50 tables over there. Right? So it means that particular table was not able, never able to complete the you can say auto vacuum. So there are others also signs that we missed. The size was increasing, like I mentioned. We could have seen that size is increasing, and then we could manually have the auto vacuuming. Then we can also monitor some of the auto vacuuming count and stuff like that using these commands. But we didn't do anything, right? Because we were believing that just monitoring the resource utilization, like CPU, memory, networking of a server or a bare metal server is enough for our database to monitor it. But that we were not over there. This is what I was in a situation, right? I tried everything. So I tried to search about this issue. So it happened 4-5 years ago, right? And not a lot of people have seen this issue. So nothing was available on the internet as well. There were some blogs available, but the SEO of those blogs were not that done in a good way, that they were visible only on 7th page or 8th page of the Google page. Google. And this was totally a kind of a nightmare for me. And I was very excited to resolve the issue in the initial stage, but this is what I landed on. This is me. Basically, I was trying to inside and out, trying to fix what should I do, because my manager was also in the call. Right? Other teams are reaching out to me, calling me, fix the issue, right? And this is what I'm trying to do. मारो भाई मुझे मारो मेरे को कुछ भी नहीं समझ आएगा तो मुझे मारो. So this is one again. If you one more thing I would like to mention is that when you are working on something, but the presence of someone also boosts your confidence, right? So my CT joined the war room, right? And I was like, चलो कोई मेरे साथ आके बैठ रहा है और मेरे साथ रिसॉल्व करवाएगा. But he didn't mention much of the things, but I was getting a good confidence. So this is a meme which I can play to. So that is why I have put it over. So now the thing was, it was already more than 2 hours now. We were getting nothing. So one thing which striked us is that okay, we cannot write to these databases, but one thing is good is that we can read it from them. Which also strike that okay, if I can read it, that also means I can take it down, take a backup of this. So we took the backup, we stored them to different new VMs, and we changed a lot of configuration so that it did not happen over there for a few minutes more, and then it started working. Okay, we updated the server to handle more work. Okay, out of 4, we moved to bigger databases, and other 2 databases we decided to put it over to stay where they were already lying over there, and we ran the auto vacuuming over there manually, and it completed within 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Okay. We tuned the databases and they didn't start the application at the time to basically reduce the load and action. So what were the lessons that we learned? The first lesson for us was basically to always monitor the performance of the database as well. Right? It's not enough to monitor the resource utilization of the database. That is one of the major, you can say, gap which we had in our case, and that is one of the learning that the 9-12 which I have seen, right? This is one of the learning that I really wish that I learned. Never put one database in a single instance. This is a very basic thing, but we didn't do it right way, so this is very wrong. We decided to do that right after that. Also, keeping an eye on the log, right? Just suppose that we were checking the logs regularly, and we had the right log mechanism alerting in place, right? We could have captured it very early because it was giving warnings, but we didn't see those warnings. Right? So this is also one of the things that very important. Again, it will come into the observability part, monitoring plus growth. So again, so the company I was working more with used to handle huge amount of load, traffic, and all kind of stuff. I learned over there, scale gives you healthy challenges, right? But it's our responsibility to capture the issues which will be coming with that particular scale and load, right? Guessing in results. Why I have mentioned this point, right? I can tell you why I have mentioned this point. So this cluster was the smallest cluster in the whole organization. Whole PTBs. Right? I remember one of the cluster was of 16 nodes, 8 into 2, 8 primary, 8 secondary, and each node is having at least 16 TBs of data in there. And imagine if the same situation would have happened over there. It would take days to recover from that disaster. So this was a kind of blessing in disguise because we were able to understand and learn a lot of stuff on this particular thing, and we applied the same thing over there so that they will not reach to that particular state. So what do we need now, right? Things are already burning out over there. So we wanted to have a DB performance monitoring and alerting. Now coming to the future-proof strategies, right? We didn't wanted to see this kind of a nightmare again. At least I don't want to see that. The reason I'm standing here and sharing this with you is because I don't want you guys to also see that. Because you will be feeling helpless like I was feeling at one point. And this is a very bad thing to happen to an organization because it impacts everything. There are also chances of you can say corrupting of data and all kind of stuff. It's better not to be in that situation. Always have a plan to handle this situation. So we started monitoring DB and we used a tool called PMF. It's Pagoda Monitoring and Management Tool. Okay, it's an open source tool. My company used to believe in open source technologies heavily, and we decided to use something on the open source side. And this is the tool we wanted to use. We used actually, and this is a kind of a dashboard which it used to provide. If you notice, it also provides auto activity details, tuple size, total transactions happening, transaction details, and all that. It's just a sample dashboard which I'm showing over here. And on these dashboards, we applied the alerting thing. Okay. So in that case, we will be able to understand, yeah, something is going wrong. Let's fix it beforehand. Come to this, we added alerts. Yes, obviously, funding was not there, alerting was also not there. So with better configuration, we decided to upscale servers a bit. So that why I will tell you, because we wanted to do auto vacuuming aggressively. Okay, because that also takes a lot of resources. Apart from this, we also changed the following parameters. So these values are something which will vary based on the server configuration you have, based on the load you have, based on the traffic coming, based on the reads are more or the writes are more. This is something you have to find a sweet spot between that, and then you have to decide which one you want to go with. Okay, so these are the parameters. You can look into those parameters and all. So yeah, this is me after fixing the outage. Okay, this is one of the reasons that I can relate to because I wanted to just complete it as soon as possible because this is the biggest downtime I have seen in my whole life. And this was a kind of a nightmare because the teams I had to answer, I had to do a lot of RCAs, this and that, and all that stuff. So yeah. One bonus slide, I was representing this information. I was representing this slide show to my team. My amazing team is sitting over there, and they basically one of the junior member in my team recommended me that why not to add why it only happens in PG, but why not in Postgres? Why not in MySQL, why in Postgres only? So this is one of the information I had, and based on that information, I asked ChatGPT to create a table for it. So one of the basic information you can see, right? Postgres is 32-bit, which means it can have maximum this number of transactions. And if you run this 20,000 transactions per second, it will reach wraparound issue in 2.5 days. But in case of MySQL, I'm specifically defining DB because that's what search engine I'm basically I have worked with, and this is what the information mostly available was. I'm not sure if MyXAML is able to support this or not, or how it does that. But in case of DB, it takes 48 bits, and in case you run the same amount of transaction per second, it will take 446 years to just reach that state. So this is one example. Other pieces also there. You can go through the slide. I will share the slide with you guys. These are the references I have taken.
So you mentioned that you paid this issue 5 to 6 years back. So this was an on-premise. This happened on-premise. You mentioned that you set up the rack and the servers again.
No. Okay, I'll come to that. So we were already using bare metal servers. They were public cloud bare metal servers. Okay, we were using a vendor called Software. So they used to give us these servers. One more thing I wanted to add, I forgot to add, is that it is not something which is restricted to my self-hosted Postgres. This can also happen to Postgres which is running on AWS, GCP, or whatever. If I wanted to share a few more information, but due to time constraint, I decided not to put much information into this. But you can easily get the logs on AWS, which will give you how to set up the monitoring and analytic place for this kind of situation.
So when like different cloud providers in their documentation while selling also said that do the DRs on the cloud and not your on. So what's the for the everyone? Just give them a little bit brief about the DRs. So when we say that DRs are there, so we have to like at the initial state when we set it with the servers only, we have to configure that same. Even if the servers are on premises, we have to firstly install the DRs and then move them to migrate to cloud. So exactly give a little bit brief about the DRs firstly.
I think the topic I was discussing about is not related to DR. If you see it,
but if suppose your situation happened because of some failure, if suppose the DRs was like configured and it had automated all the process because as a platform engineer, we have now the thing are being in the automation stage that whatever the issues are saying, like this is the issue that you faced 5 years back, but you have implemented some features so that it can be get automated nowadays.
So I come to this one thing, right? In my case also there was a DR in case, right? Secondary is nothing but a kind of a DR in case I want to do that. But that also went into the same state because, okay, I didn't answer this. If your transactions are happening on primary, using the logs, the same configuration is applied, same transaction applied on the secondary. That is why they both went into that state, DR foundation, right? In this case, you will set up DR, right? Then your DR will again reach out to the same state.
Because the configuration of both the primary and DR.
Yes. This is one condition, right? Yes, we can overcome this condition. We can try to automate and we can try to reduce the mean time to recover and kind of stuff. I can tell you one more information is that I have some tools in place which take the backups and store them on data on S3 bucket, and you can automate that to pick those data from that S3 bucket and restore it to a particular different VM. That will reduce your mean time to recovery and kind of thing. Because in this situation, the quantum time recovery will also not help you. So that is the only solution here. But in that case, it depends how much data you have. If you have data more than 20 TPs, 30 TPs, it will take at least 40 hours to get restored. That is something is a different for scenario altogether.
Am I audible? Hello?
Nice question.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you're audible.
Sir, the recovery from the disaster slide, you explained how you migrated the database and like increase the machine size and made some configurations and turned database on. It worked. Sir, why not initially you had a backup like for some disaster? Like if something happens to the main database, you could
Okay,
why don't you initially have?
yeah, we had databases backups and all right, but they were not to the same. They were not on the same stage where my transaction wraparound issue happened. So that is also the reason we decided to take the gateways down because everything was already down over there. And then we decided to take gateways down because my database was at a stage in which it was not going further. Right? It was stuck over there. Then I decided to take the backup because that was the latest stage. So suppose I'm running the backups 8 a.m. in the morning every day. Yes, we do had incremental backup kind of mechanism, barman and all kind of stuff, but this was something that we wanted to go into. That used to take a lot of time. So to simplify the process, we took the backup, we stored them to a different VM, and then we started working.
Also, sir, you like didn't explain why the auto vacuum didn't work for like why was it not completing?
Okay.
Why didn't it work?
Yeah, nice question. So, like I mentioned, right, I shared a figure, right? My database size was 1.7 TB, and inside that database, the one table size was 1.2 TB. So auto vacuuming takes time and resources, and it stores a lot of data in your memory as well. So the time it was trying to do all the stuff, the next cycle used to start happening. Okay, the auto vacuuming is running, it will kill that person and start it again because the next process is about to start. So that is what was happening. Okay, okay. One more thing I would like to add is that in the countermeasures, right? If you notice these parameters, these parameters does work, right? We started auto vacuuming aggressively. You see that we increase the data, match workers, right? We decrease the snap time, and we also reduce this cost delay to zero and all. So it happened very aggressively, and we increased the resources because we wanted to give more maintenance work to the applications. Process.
Other question is like why starting partitioning not in place? So mainly happen because of the choose table, right? So we can avoid it by implementing partition or starting.
No, actually the thing is that the size of that DB got too much because it was not vacuuming was not happening.
I'm asking kind of suggestion, like, there is not it's not ideal to keep a table that much size. So we go when with the partitioning, each table will have individual vacuuming happening on. So that time you won't have this issue. So generally automatically the huge table will take more time to complete. So that time it will automatically be quick. So that's why this issue happens. It's like smaller tables, a number of smaller tables of particular partitioning not so much. So each table will have different auto vacuum process running for it. It's kind of a, otherwise you can go with the starting kind of
Yeah, that's a good solution. But I think in our scenario, we were not able to reach out to that thing because we were running on 9.6 version, which was quite low. Maybe I'm not sure if that was there or not, but I think that's a good solution. I mean, if you guys are listening, he was mentioning that why not to do the sharding of auto vacuuming? Why not let auto vacuuming do on every table differently instead of doing on the whole database? That's what he was saying, and I think it's a good solution. Maybe the newer Postgres features might be helpful.
is there after that.
This was a good
Just
option.
adding to the backup things because basically whatever backup you are having, right? So those everything have the same data. It's kind of a transaction happening on the primary and unit or backup. Same data will be at the backup. Start the database, it will also have the same issue. So auto needs to run even if you have a backup or not.
Yeah, I mean, he's Rajamohan, he's from my team. Still learning from him. No, these questions are something he is asking. It's not something. He is a good, I mean, really great DB. I'm still learning from him in terms of database because from a long time not worked on databases. Yeah, there was one question you were asking. Right?
Yeah. Right. Is this things happens in NoSQL databases also, like MongoDB and all?
So Mongo is a very different. Not some CAM based. It's a non-SQL language. This is SQL. This works on SQL properties now. So they do are very different things. So
This issues doesn't happen in NoSQL databases.
I'm not sure about it.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was. Okay, one good question he has asked is that I talked about data loss, right? And that was a question mark. How much data loss happened to us? So we didn't lose any data. I'll come to that. Why that happened? So one good thing was that it was a producer and consumer model. Yeah, and we were putting everything in queues. We're using Kafka over there, but the consumer was something which was not running. We stopped the consumer because they were failing. They were not able to write queue over there. So yeah, the size of the queue grown up with time, but we were able to recover that data and put it over. Yeah.
So you also talked about the like if the logs were read initially, the problem would have not been occurred. So then are there any tools which help us like monitoring logs and
Yeah, it depends on what stack you're using in terms of your monitoring. Some people use tools like Datadog and all. If some people on the they are on the you can say what do we call it, open source side, then they can have their own stack like PFK stack, ELK stack, Elasticsearch, Kubernetes, Grafana, and all that stuff. They provide a lot of information. Grafana is also one of the tools that you can use. So that totally depends on you and how you want to apply the alerts over there. That's totally. Thank you. Why was the right of question was blocked? Only right. Yeah, so okay, I'll come to that. So what happens is that when Postgres sees that I have reached 2 billion transactions, right? Like I mentioned, right? Okay, let me go to that side. You see that, right? It has 32 bits, okay, which goes up to approximately 4 billion numbers. Okay, but to create a new ID, it has to get that ID from the older IDs as well. So 2 billions are basically resolved, and out of those 2 billion, new IDs are assigned. The quota by default is 2 raised to the 31, which comes around 2 billion something. Exhausted. The quota got exhausted 100%, and it caused 2 billion requests, and that is why it thought, okay, now something is wrong with the database. In case I keep continuing it, it will start rewriting the data from scratch, and it will overwrite the data from first phase to last phase. We didn't want it to do that. So that is why it is an end of a countermeasure in the process itself. It basically freeze the data and go into downstream. No. The data we were writing over there. So it already went into a freeze state, right? It didn't apply the you can say data from first integer itself. So that was not happening. We didn't lose data because the data was already there in the queues, and we just stopped the consumer. So we started the consumer, we started writing to it.
I have one question. I have a question. So you basically mentioned that Postgres and MySQL, they only solve delete data basically, and then later on Postgres basically uses auto vacuuming, and
MySQL has a very different way of doing it. If you see here, right, MySQL changes directly to the book of code. So it doesn't have that kind of vacuuming kind of stuff.
you're not audible, please.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Cool. No, so there is a difference actually in MySQL and Postgres. So Postgres use auto vacuuming kind of stuff, right? MySQL, from what I read, they tried to write on the same table itself. Instead of deleting that and updating new and then doing the vacuuming, loading and all that stuff. So this is what my knowledge said. I'm not able to recall much, but this is one of the table you can go to.
So basically, like it's written there, like they both basically mark the data as deleted, and then later on, using some mechanism, it is.
But there is a different mechanism. So if you see, it uses MVCC mechanism and it uses a different buffer pool mechanism.
It's done differently, but they basically only soft deleted initially, right?
Yeah.
And then as long as the data is not permanently deleted, that transaction ID remains.
No, transaction ID is something different. Transaction ID is whatever operation is happening on the database.
Yeah.
That is a transaction ID. That is a unique ID.
Yeah, I got it. I got that. But like as long as the delete is only marked as delete, the transaction ID cannot be. That transaction ID is basically
Like over there.
or that transaction it is still existing, right?
Right.
That is the main issue.
Right.
So like why do they soft delete like these databases? Why do they soft delete? Is this like an optimization?
I think so, right? If you do such operation regularly instead of doing it in batches,
Delete operation.
batches is always better than doing it all the time. It will decrease the number of operations happening every second.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
So the problem we are discussing over here is around transaction IDs, and I do not have a question. I have a solution around this. So when we are talking about relational databases, which is Postgres and MySQL, we are talking about an architecture which is master-slave architecture, and it is not a distributed thing. If you want to scale it, you can only scale it vertically if there is one master. If you want to scale it horizontally, then you have to shard it and create multiple masters, and then those masters also you cannot scale horizontally, you can only scale vertically. There's this DB called Yugabyte, if anyone has heard of it. and there's this DB called cockroach DB, right? So both of these DBs are from the ecosystem of new SQL, as the category says, which is a distributed SQL environment. So these databases are not distributed, and those databases are distributed. What distributed means is that you can write to any database, any node of the database, and your writes will be routed to any other node where the hash of that data's primary key belongs to. And how Yugabyte handles it specifically is also, first of all, why I'm saying Yugabyte is because Yugabyte is on an API level Postgres compliant. Any application which is using Postgres, you can migrate to Yugabyte because all of the API calls are Postgres compliant. It is binary layer compatibility. Because it is distributed, so you can take advantage of scaling it horizontally, right? And how it handles this transaction wraparound issue is that Postgres and MySQL, as you mentioned, use 32 bits and 48 bits specifically as a number to increment it, and they exhaust. Yugabyte, what they have done is they have, instead of relying on 32 bit and 42 bit integers, they have switched it up and replaced the transaction ID with a hybrid clock time. So time never runs out. So the transaction IDs never run out. So and your data is compliant with the Postgres binary level protocol, right? So binary level protocol basically. So yeah, that is a solution. Maybe you want to explore distributed systems, new SQL category, and you can shift your workloads to Yugabyte and maybe save this issue. Yeah.
Okay. So Yugabyte you mentioned, right? That's a paid solution or can we use
It is an open source database. Yugabyte is also open source. Cockroach DB is also open source.
It's more like a upper layer over the.
So what Yugabyte did was they ported the Postgres version 11 and created on their own solution to distribute the Postgres layer. So yeah, I mean, I can go into the details later on if you want, but yeah, it is just a solution based on what we are trying to solve this problem. So
Okay.
it's an alternate solution.
So yeah, I think that could be a good solution. But Cockroach DB is something I'm not into towards. That's really huge issues and all kind of stuff. The community support is also really bad. Yeah, Yugabyte is something that we can get to. Maybe somebody's. One more thing I wanted to add, right? You mentioned about sharding and all kind of configuration. So this sharding and all kind of configuration, if you go with enterprise kind of mechanism in MySQL and other kind of services, they already have this planning. So sharding happens on that day itself. Maybe you can also try that. Maybe if you guys are also looking to have some more paid solution, then we have enterprise level support for that in terms of MySQL and Postgres. Cool. Any other question? Guys?
Regarding the dark roads and work activities. So it's you are saying it's a multi-write kind of a deal, correct? Multiple distributed like matlab like you don't have multiple writer. You can make anyone can connect to any database and make a. So what happens like if I want to make a transaction, I both want to make a same row. I want to update. We also want to update, but we are connecting to two different databases, correct? So last one wins, and there is a problem of row mismatch is happening. The data mismatch consistency will be happening, right? So that is one of the drawbacks of the distributed.
It is consistent.
No, it is consistent. Like at the same time, I'm saying
It provides
transactions, but the last one means I'm saying. So if I am also updating the same row, you are also updating it, but we are updating on different databases.
This is isolation level.
No, isolation level I'm saying. So storage level I'm saying. So this, if I update in this commit, like if I am updating on a particular database, my row will get committed. You can update on this different database. I'm thinking.
Only if the isolation level allows.
Yeah. So there's a like, if I am updating, you are updating, this needs to go there to show that I have this, there's already change happened, right? So what I'm saying, like if you are doing it the other day, the other database, something like that, it will break the transaction. When you are going to update, it will show there's change happened, your transaction will break.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, I see.
Transaction mode consistency is by default, I think. It won't allow that. That's why we have the transaction mode for any database.
Yeah. Single database, right? That time both will be making a change on the same storage, correct?
It won't allow that. That's what
That
transaction
will
mode.
not allow it, but here I'm saying it will forward check. There will be a delay, I'm saying.
Yeah, there could be delay. That's right, but it won't do an override or a common update.
Last implement.
Okay.
So we are going to the multi, obviously it's multiple, right?
Right.
Multiple tendency will be there, and there are other communication issues. So data, there is a point of inconsistent data, not incorrect data may be shown onto the URL.
About incorrect data, I'm not sure because we have used these kind of solutions and we have never faced. But like, if we brief it, what you're saying, there could be inconsistency in the data. But in my experience, by how much I've used transaction databases as in on Postgres, I have never faced that. So that's why I got slightly curious about the issue.
Depends upon the architecture. The availability zone, then so the global architecture, global organization, they will have different databases on different regions. So what is in US, there will be a latency from the transaction to go there and make the change.
Let's do one thing, post meetup, let's discuss on this because I'm very interested about this. That's all.
Cool guys. Any other question? Cool. Thank you.